regards to our guest's testimony and life experiences, this is a content warning that this episode includes discussions of suicide, self-harm, and violence. Please be advised.
I read the Bible in a month and a week. I'm like, God, if you don't show up tonight, I'm going to commit suicide. I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
Like, I believe you're real, but it doesn't make sense that you're real, and my life seems to suck even more. After I got saved, I lost my first friend to suicide at 12 years old.
Wow.
I then lost my next friend to a fight when I was 13, and then later that year is when I went through a school shooting. I lost one of my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
Her name's Zoe, and that was probably the changing part of my life because Native Americans are 70% more likely to commit suicide than any other race. The very first word in our Bible, this is what it says. This is what Jews. This is in the Torah. What Jews believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are you ready for this, Moses? The Son of God is destroyed willingly on the cross.
I know, like, why I'm here.
An atheist at the beginning of the year
bounces into the ceiling in the passenger seat.
Hit my head.
Putting them in towards the wrong thing. Like,
Who am I now? The person ahead of me wishing I looked like them. Somebody's looking at me wishing they looked like.
Just dance.
Sin's there, and I'm like, man, I feel good. Never felt that.
All right, Tanner Lauzon, so grateful to be back with you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Filled Podcast. Thanks for being back.
You're welcome.
It has been a trip to get here.
Yeah,
and
it
we've already
has.
filmed this once, so I'll just be open and honest about that. But thanks for being so willing to come
Of
back.
course.
He has a really cool story, and I'm really excited about it. So let's just dive right back where we left off. So can we start with just like who you are, and then kind of like what the audience is gonna get from this? I guess like we just started with like, your testimony and who Tanner is.
Yeah. There's a lot of things I could say.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
but I would say at heart, I kind of shared this last time.
Mm-hmm.
Someone reached out to do a podcast about what my greatest dream is.
Mm.
And I was looking at some of my friends who did them, and this isn't. I thought their answers were great, but I was sitting there. I was like, Lord, because I have a list of probably 20 dreams in my room
Mm-hmm.
of just crazy things. Like, I want to build an apartment complex in Santa Monica for only homeless people.
Yeah.
I want to sell 5 million copies. Well, I want to become the best-selling author ever to exist. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have some pretty wild dreams that seem outlandish, but what I've realized is every single one of those dreams stems from being loved by God and loving others.
Mm.
And so who I am is just someone who wants to love well. I want to get to the end of my life, and you know, at people's funerals, no matter who you are, if you've been an evil person or not, quote unquote evil, because we're all evil.
Yeah.
People speak highly of you, but I want at my funeral people to actually mean what they're saying, and I want people to be encountered by love throughout every single day of my life
Mm-hmm.
and everything that I do, whether it's writing books, whether it's making music, whether it's social media. I just want to show people the love that saved my life 6 years ago.
Yeah, totally. Do you have a like favorite? I don't know. You do so much. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you can't really put you in like a box of like, oh, content creation, author, musician, disciple of Jesus, number one, right?
Yeah.
Of like, what's your, I guess maybe I just answered my own question. What's your like favorite, I guess, title that is
Yeah.
like that you're doing right now?
Yeah, I would say right now it would be music because
Mhm.
it's been a new language that I've been uncoding with the Lord. But I say the same thing with friends. Like, I have such awesome guys in my life that I think will be in my life forever.
Mhm.
And a lot of people ask me all the time, like, who is your closest friend?
Mhm.
And to say that one is closer than the other is, in my heart, discrediting how great the others are.
Yeah.
And so for everything that I do, it's like I'm having the most fun with music right now because
Yeah.
it's so new and it's so different, and it's like I have to surrender every moment because I have no idea what the heck I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love everything. Like, writing was the first thing I ever did with the Lord. I was illiterate till I was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
I struggled extremely with dyslexia. Like, I couldn't read.
Mm-hmm.
And when I picked up the Bible, I fell in love with it, and it was just different than anything else I read. It literally felt like they were love letters to me.
Wow.
And it felt like as I was reading this book, even if I didn't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
parts of my heart were being untangled and replaced. And so I think just with so many different facets of my life, right now music has been so fun, but I can't discredit writing because that's literally what got me out of the pit of my own mind.
Yeah.
Like I would just sit and write these very um, descriptive, very gory, honestly, poems and writings. Honestly, like King David when he talks about in the Psalms about God just send me to shield. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
how I felt most of my life, and I was or most of my first few years of being a Christian. I was even talking with a friend the other night about just like how when you do things with the Lord and when you actually use your brain, because there's a dilemma in the church right now where we accept Jesus and then we just live this life of like, oh, let's do the next thing, which is marriage or
Mm-hmm.
stepping into ministry or that, and then we fall into this still not being happy or not being content because we're not actually seeking the Lord. Like so many people's end goal is to get married and have kids,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not going to satisfy you. Like
Wow.
being real with you, you can get married to your dream girl or guy. For me, obviously a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and that will not satisfy you. It
Mm-hmm.
won't. And I'm going to tell you that right now because newsflash, you're a lot of people who will listen to this will think that if they just get that thing, that job, that position, that thing at church, they get their girl, that they'll be satisfied. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just not the case because everything in this world is fleeting. And I've just
Wow.
realized that with the Lord is as I've done all of these different creative endeavors, what has humbled my heart and healed my heart is the love encounters I've had in the midst of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would write these poems and then the Lord would write poems back to me.
Wow.
And now it's like I just wrote this song about my friend that died in the shooting,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting to encounter the Lord and see how he was in the middle of that moment.
Wow.
And it's just so beautiful. And I get to like in the song when it comes out, I don't know exactly. I thought I was gonna release it in December, but I kinda want to wait till February 22nd because that's her birthday.
Wow, that's awesome.
And in it I added at a certain part birds
Mm.
in this like after the bridge it's just like this big moment and then it goes quiet and it's just these o's and these birds to show like the agony that I went through but then how the spirit of God was in the midst of it all even
Mm-hmm.
though I didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so just things like that like I couldn't think of,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the most beautiful thing I think about when I think of my life is I every single thing I've done so far Christian wise I've not been able to do on my own. Like
Mm.
I shared this on the last podcast that we
Mm-hmm.
did before we're redoing it. When I first became a Christian, 8 months into it, I got asked to start speaking around at this thing called Winter Jam. I was preaching the gospel with them.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is a 19-year-old kid who's read the Bible 3 times in 8 months, who still doesn't know who Jesus is fully, who's doesn't have mentorship, who's like hated by his whole family and friends, who has no one, who's still struggling mentally, is asked to speak in front of 10,000 people every four times a week. You know
Wow.
what I mean? Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember just every single time I would just sit backstage. I'd be like, God, if you don't show up, I won't be able to get out of here. Like
Mm-hmm.
even when I would speak at churches, even to this day when I speak at anything, I feel like it's so kind of the Lord to make it impossible for me not to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I sit there and I'm like, God, where the flesh is weak, the spirit is willing. And so I feel that so tangibly in my own life in every aspect of my life is I can't take credit for anything I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I'll just pick up my poetry book because I have like 20 copies at my house. I'm like, I read one, I'm like, bro, I did not write that.
You're like, do you like not remember writing it, or you like
No, it's
know
like
like the
I did
Lord?
not write that. There's
Wow.
no possible way that Tanner wrote that.
Yeah.
I read it, and I even today I went on a walk before you guys got here. Just walked at sunset,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't bring my phone, and I just sat there, and just these thoughts of a poem came to my heart, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I was just walking,
Yeah.
and I think that that's the beauty of walking with Jesus, is because he's the creator.
Mm-hmm.
Colossians 1, he is the one that created
Yeah.
everything, and
Creation
so
testifies.
yeah, he
Yeah.
desires to create with us, and I think to encourage anyone for this first portion is stop striving
Mm-hmm.
and start abiding in the Lord
Mm-hmm.
because his love will overflow through you, in you, and from you if you choose to allow it to. Um, rivers only flow if we allow them to flow. A lot of rivers have been stopped because of dams, and we think they're helpful, but for thousands of years we had these rivers. You know, like for some reason we thought when we did all this traction control that we're helping the world, but for some reason the world's now failing because of all the things that we've done to it.
Yeah.
And that's what we do in our own life, even when we fall into these habitual ideologies and fallacies that we've been taught. Like a lot of people growing up in the church, they have wrong ideologies of Jesus. And so when I preach the gospel, often I'm like, I want to tell you about the real Jesus, because people think they know Jesus, but then they live in a works-based salvation. And I'm like, bro, if you think you can save yourself, you're cooked. Like you can't save yourself. It's feasibly impossible. It's a logical fallacy to think that you can do anything yourself, because if you count your works, which God calls filthy rags, if you count those up, you would have maybe 6 days accumulated in heaven.
I like that analogy you used last
Yeah,
time.
it's I like to call the wage dilemma. If I, Tanner, accumulated every time I fed the homeless, which has been every Sunday for the last 2 years, at least, you know, if I accumulated every time I prayed for someone, every time I've preached, every time I've given money, I'd probably get 6 days in heaven worth of good works, because I have to balance out my bad works and, you know, my lies and, you know, everything I've done in my entire life. You know, I've only been a Christian for 6 years. I had 18 years, 19 years of horrific things that I did to people that I genuinely regret. I wish I could take back, but at the same time, it's the duality where I'm thankful for it.
Is he allowed to have that?
I don't know. Come here, little boy. That's his way of talking.
Moses, what do you gotta say, bro?
He's one of the most talkative dogs in the entire world. Like our roommate Chris will just be there. It's a new thing. He'll just like growl for 20 minutes, but wagging his tail just because he wants Chris to keep petting him.
He just wants to keep hanging out.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a chiller.
Let's hang out, bro.
Yeah. But
oh my gosh.
where was I going?
We were talking about your wages.
Oh,
your
yeah.
analogy.
So with it, like if I accumulated everything I'd ever do, weighing out the good and bad, I would present it to God. This is if Jesus didn't sacrifice himself. This is how, in the nicest way possible, stupid it is to think that you can work for your salvation is.
Yeah.
This is why Islam doesn't work. This is why Mormonism doesn't work, is because they strive to work towards something that is eternal. If I work, I get paid per video. And so if a company pays me X amount, that means I have to post that. Most people get paid for hours that they work. So it's like $15 an hour. Then they spend that on other things. This is why there's this ideology that time is money. Is because when you give things up, then you have to give things up to get something. You have to sacrifice. Everything is a sacrifice. And so when we bring that to God and try to base our life on a works-based salvation, if I brought everything to God, I would get 6 days in heaven. Then he'd be like, hey, it's been your 6 days. You've paid for your amount of eternity.
Yeah.
So now you get to go to hell. And this is why Jesus has to be the way, and is the only way, and is the only way that we can live in the Spirit of God, through the Spirit of God, because he is the only one that was eternally God and eternally man who could pay the eternal price.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement, before we even get into my story or anything, is if you've been striving in any way of your life,
You're so good.
if you've been striving in any way of your life, humble yourself to the fact that you can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, especially men. I'm not a girl, so I don't know exactly how girls think.
More emotionally. Men think more logically, and women
sure.
think more emotionally. I
Yeah.
feel like that's just like
the standard difference. Yeah,
pretty
for
much.
sure. The biggest thing that I've seen in me and my guy friends is we try to work really hard.
Yeah.
And we try to get things done to succeed.
Mm.
But the greatest thing that I ever realized was success is realizing I can't do it.
Yeah.
And realizing that I actually don't know anything. And I think that when we think we know God, then we failed. Because we're missing the greatness and the honest of God. There's a book called The Knowledge of the Holy by A.W. Tozer.
Okay.
And I read it a few months ago, and it changed my perspective on a lot. In Revelation 1, it says John is speaking. He's on this island, and maybe he was schizophrenic, maybe he's
Mhm.
seeing things, but it's in the Bible for a reason.
Yeah.
God put it in there for a reason.
Yeah.
He says that he gets taken up to heaven, and he says that it's like he sees this figure, and his eyes are like fire. His
Mhm.
hair is like wool. And then he talks about this sea that's like glass, and
Mhm.
all of these profound things. And in the midst of it,
Mhm.
A.W. Tozer's talking about it, and he's like, John says this because it's the only thing that he can relate it to,
Mm.
but it was probably so much greater
Mhm.
than we could even our human understanding could fathom.
Yeah, because it's like his human understanding, trying to
Yes.
understand the greatness of
Yes.
what he's seeing.
And it's like there's so little we actually know about God,
Yeah.
and that's been the most beautiful thing for my own life is doing so many things. It's easy to be like, okay, I have to get this, and I have to get this, and I have to get this done. If I don't, then I'm a failure.
Yeah, it can
I'm
become
a
like
dead
task
man.
oriented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Lord has just shown me like, whoa, He is so much greater than anything I could ever fathom,
Mhm.
and His love is bestowed inside of me somehow.
Mhm.
And yeah, just get addicted to His love.
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest advice I could give anyone is to become addicted with the eyes of fire. Like let the
Mhm.
eyes of fire shine through you. Even I told you this last time, but something I
Mhm.
pray is Matthew 6 that the eyes are the window to the soul.
Yeah.
And even on Sunday that I was talking to my pastor after church, just catching up because I haven't seen him in a few weeks
Mhm.
because I've been traveling, and we're just talking, and I have blue eyes, so it's
Yeah.
easy to. This lady comes up like to talk, thank my pastor for the message, and she just looks at me. She's like, "Holy crap, your eyes are so beautiful. They're glowing."
Mhm.
And it's just what I pray. It's literally that the fire of the Lord that is bestowed inside of us would um emulate through us.
Mhm.
And it's not anything I did. Like my eyes are the same eyes that I was born with,
Yeah.
but for some reason they glow differently now.
Yeah, because you're praying that prayer, and like it's
Yeah,
and like and then too, it's like ask and you shall receive, and you're like, let my eyes be the window to my soul.
literally.
I also something that we did talk about too is like what you pray before even you go in and talking to someone or
Yeah,
being with someone is like, Lord, help me love. Like for me, it was like, how can I love? He was like, how can I love Abby
yeah,
well?
yeah,
Literally took that into practice.
yeah.
While
Wow,
like that was a prayer that like now I am praying.
that's so
And I
cool.
think that that is something genuinely that we all can do. It's
Yeah,
like, hey, how can I love X, Y, whoever it is, whoever you're going to see, of like, how can I love this person well? Lord, show me how they need to be loved today.
yeah,
Because not everyone's always going to be having a great, and sometimes people just, that's how you can show Jesus. Because something else we also talked about was I was like, how do you talk about Jesus in
yeah,
like a party setting or like in a setting where it might not be Jesus loves you, like you need to know him,
for sure.
as opposed to like maybe you're just showing like what's different about Tanner, what's
Yeah,
different about Abby. And you've had so many of those encounters of like something's different about you,
yeah,
and people notice it.
yeah. It's crazy.
It's wild how the Lord does that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Ugh, so amazing. So can you take us back kind of to 18-year-old Tanner? Well, you have such a crazy story because like you said you were like living 18 years of like being a fighter on a native reserve and not knowing the Lord because you were kind of often told to hate religion, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. So I grew up on a Native American reservation. I know I'm white, but I have Native in me, and I grew up on another tribe that uh, my grandma was from another tribe in Washington, but I grew up on a tribe called Tulalip.
Okay.
And with that, I actually I started going to like powwows. Basically, it's this big festival that just a bunch of natives
Mhm.
hang out and do basically rituals to honor the land, to honor their ancestors, to come together and live life together.
Mhm.
Uh, this is like for anyone who's native that decides to watch this. This is obviously like a very bland explanation of it because there's so much beauty and um I mean there's so much that I could say on that, but
Mhm.
in essence, it's a big dance party where you and your family and other families come together, eat food, dance, and in my opinion, uh a lot of natives actually praise God for the world.
Mm.
We're just taught that they're praising the universe, but most of them actually believe in a monotheistic God.
Okay.
And so and a lot of that actually changed uh when England started coming over here.
Okay.
And why I believe that is because obviously they didn't have the gospel here,
Mhm.
but Romans 1:18 through 20 says that nature points to the glory of God.
Mhm.
And so I believe there's so many people on the reservation that actually know Jesus. They just
Okay.
don't know it's Jesus. It's
Mm.
the entirety of my story. And so basically for me, I grew up very outside of the church. Just both my parents are alcoholics. They
Mhm.
uh, have been drinking since the day I was born.
Really?
I learned, yeah, literally, I cannot think of a single night that I hadn't seen my parents drinking.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize honestly how bad it was until this year
Mhm.
when I went home and just seeing how much alcohol is in, like there's a fridge in our garage
Mhm.
that legit only has alcohol in it.
Wow.
And it's not just like beers, it's like vodka, it's all I've never drank in my entire life, never had a sip of alcohol.
Mhm.
And there's so much alcohol in there. It's crazy.
Mhm.
And why I share that is because from that came a lot of anger from my father, and from a very young age I started getting abused by him. And
Mhm.
I learned anger from a young age in
Okay.
essence. So the very first time I punched someone was when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
I punched about like 15 people that year. And then the next year I got expelled from punching too many people.
Wow.
And so I was actually at like the better schools because they didn't want me to live the same life they did.
Mhm.
And so I was at the quote unquote white people schools.
Mhm.
And then I got transferred to the primary Native American schools.
Okay.
And so that's where I got even more immersed in the culture that is in me.
Mhm.
And from there, I didn't necessarily believe the religious statues of the tribe. Like the best way I can describe it is in essence Hinduism, but it's extremely different
Mhm.
than Hinduism. It's just easier than me talking for the next 30 minutes about everything that I was
Yeah.
taught to believe, like with spirits and our ancestors and this and that, But yeah, so fast forward, I my entire life I knew that fighting was bad. I knew that stealing was bad. I knew these things were bad. I
Mhm.
just felt like it was my only option.
Mhm.
Cuz like my parents are poor. Um, I started taking care of myself in like 4th grade because they couldn't uh, they couldn't pay for a a babysitter or anything, and so I
Mhm.
would just go down to our local store and I would just steal a bunch of food and stuff. The
Wow.
first thing I stole was when I was like 8 years old. You know what hot fries are?
Yeah.
Love those things. They were like $1 and I still stole them. Like I remember so vividly the yellow bag that said $1. I was like, no, I'm just taking them. And
Wow.
so it was just all I knew.
Mhm.
And yeah, then I started having a lot of hardships. I lost my first friend to suicide at 12 years old.
Wow.
I then lost my next friend to like just violence in general to a fight when I was 13 or yeah, later that year when I first turned 13. And then later that year is when I went through a school shooting. I lost one of my closest friends.
Mhm.
Her name's Zoe. And that was probably the changing part of my life because Native Americans are 70% more likely to commit suicide than any other race.
Mhm.
And to me, that is something I've known since I was a kid. We've always been taught to be there for each other, to be a footstool for each other. That's something I love about Native culture is it's all about respect and helping those
Mhm.
around you. And so even though I was taught to help and do this and that, I struggled immensely with extreme demonic thoughts.
Mm.
I would literally be in my room and I would see and hear figures telling me to commit suicide
Wow.
for probably 3 years straight.
Mhm.
And I actually didn't share this last time, and I just feel compelled to share it. One of
Okay.
the actual biggest reasons I never committed suicide is because before my brother ran away, he ran away
Mhm.
for 2 years.
Okay.
I walked into, I would, my parents would be fighting downstairs, and I would have to stop my dad from getting in my mom's face. and I would have to run upstairs and stop my brother from slitting his wrist.
Wow.
And then I would clean up his blood.
Wow.
And so
And how old were you then?
I was 13.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And with that, I saw the implications that had from my own suffering that would go forth on other people. And
Mhm.
especially losing my first friend at 16, I
Mhm.
saw, or sorry, 12, I saw the weight of sin in a way that I don't think most kids do.
Mhm.
And I, yeah, I realized that I would never want to put anyone else through the pains that I had gone through.
Mm.
And so I would rather live in agony just so other people wouldn't the rest of their lives, even if it meant every morning I could barely breathe.
Mhm.
And then when Zoe passed away in the shooting, um, I remember being on the locker room floor thinking that my brother was actually dead because he wasn't answering my text.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I just remember sitting there just so confused why it happened, how it happened, everything. We're in lockdown for 6 hours,
Mhm.
and I get home, and you still don't know who's involved, really, what's happened,
Mhm.
because this is before social media was really a thing.
Yeah.
Like this was 10 years ago, and so we had Instagram and whatnot, but your source of news was the news then. There
Mhm.
wasn't TikTok, you know what I mean?
Totally.
And so it wasn't until that night I was watching the news that I saw Zoe's name on there. And then I saw Jalen, the shooter, which his brother is one of the people that got me to start wrestling,
Mhm.
which is what got me out of street fighting. And so these aren't just random people. Like the dilemma here is that Jalen wasn't like in a lot of people's eyes, being real with you, people think that school shooters are like the weird kids at school.
Mhm.
And this isn't to demoralize certain people. There's obviously distinct differences that people associate different people with in
Yeah.
schools. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so
Stereotypically.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Jalen was a captain of our football team. He was homecoming prince. He was one of the chief. He most people thought he was going to be like a chief of our tribe. Just was very involved in the community.
Yeah.
And um this is the destruction of sin and corruption of Satan, is how much he wants to disunify and literally kill humanity.
Mhm.
I I just remember after that day, I never had resentment towards Jalen, because I think deep inside my heart, I knew it was one mistake that he made
Mhm.
that was a forever mistake, unfortunately, but it was still one mistake. And so,
Mhm.
fast forward, I decided to live my life for Zoe. I became super good at wrestling. I was ranked third in the state my senior year. Got super good at running. Just thought that if I could go D1 in either one of those, then I could get out of the lifestyle I was living, because it wasn't like I wanted to live. Like, I didn't want to ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
The reality, like, I want to share something that is I've probably I've shared with my friends, but I've never shared on a podcast.
Mhm.
But I want to share with you the weight of sin.
Mhm.
There's someone that literally committed suicide because of me and my friends.
Wow.
And that's a weight that I have to carry for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I know that Jesus has saved me from my sins, but that does not defer from what I did. And I'm
Mhm.
sharing that because whoever's listening to this, you have an opportunity to either choose to live a life of sin or a life of love.
Mhm.
And I'm encouraging you to choose love, because you could change someone's life rather than ruin someone's life. And
Mhm.
I think about the destruction of sin in my own life before I knew Jesus. I ruined so many people's lives.
Mhm.
But for some reason, people didn't hate me back then. They hate me now. Like, my hometown, people didn't hate me back then. Maybe it was because I was a scary guy that would beat them up.
Mhm.
But no, it's really because John 15, the world will hate those who love Jesus. The world will hate you if you love Jesus.
Yep.
And yeah, so I got super good at sports, all this stuff, whatever. Um, got an opportunity to run in Australia for Team USA, like a junior Team USA. Uh, a few months prior, I break my foot. I lose every D1 scholarship I had.
Wow.
Um, and at that time, like I was finally getting out of this rut of depression and stuff because my life was succeeding. I was finally getting out of this stuff. And after that, I was like, well, my life's over. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this for Zoe. I have no career. I'm going to just fall into drugs like all my other friends and probably end up in jail in a year. Like, being real with you, if Jesus did not encounter me that summer, I would probably be in jail to this day. I don't know what I would have done, but it wouldn't have been a good thing.
It would have caught up with you, kind of.
Yeah, 150%. And but about a month has passed. I was told that I had to have reconstruction surgery that would have taken 2 years. So I was out. Like, it wasn't just a little thing. It was like I was out for good.
Like sophomore year of college, maybe come back, kind of.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And no school is gonna want you, especially like track's not a big sport. Like, I had offers D2 for wrestling, but I didn't have any D1, and I needed somewhere that would at least give me like a half ride or something, because I didn't have money to just pay for college, and so
Yeah, you were paying for your own school.
exactly, like,
Yeah.
I started paying for things when I was 16 years old, and
Yeah,
so
which is a heavy burden to carry as
Yeah.
like an 18-year-old then trying to go to college.
for sure, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I had a dream one night of my foot being healed. I have no idea why I have this dream. There's no context at all. I wake up the next morning and my foot's completely fine.
It's
Like,
insane.
I went to the doctor 3 days later and they were like, we don't know what happened, but it's fine. And so I end up texting the Team USA team. I'm like, hey, I'm good. I'm going. And so I run there, and I come back and I start reaching out to colleges. I'm like, hey, I'm finally healed, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I actually got accepted to the University of Washington, but not to run because of my foot. They were like, I was talking to the coach because I knew them and I knew some people on the team. And they were like, okay, if you're faster than prior, then we'll actually let you in.
Okay.
And so for the next 6 months, I started training and whatnot. But that July, I encountered this lady named Kylie. She had blue and black hair, septum piercing, gauges, tattoos from literally like almost blackout tattoos,
Wow.
just all over her body. She just yells my name. She says, Tanner. I'm like, who the heck is this lady?
You're like, I don't know this lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She asked if she could pray for me. I've never been prayed for before.
What's your reaction to that in that moment?
Like, I said different words than this, but I said, what the blank do you mean pray for me? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And then all she said was, you're desperate for the love of God. And I just fell to my knees, started weeping. And she started naming quite literally every single thing that I have ever gone through. She didn't just say Zoe's name. She said Zoe Rain, which is what I would call her. She said, you lost Zoe Rain. Your father's abused you for your whole life. Your brother sexually abused you for 5 years. She named people that I beat up. She named about 10 people that died in my life by suicide. She named friends of mine that were in jail. She named things that I had stolen. She named awards that I won. She named like tournaments that I won, the craziest things. And she said, no matter what you've been through nor what you've done, God has been with you and he wants you to read the Bible. And the only foreknowledge I had of the Bible is 8th grade, 2 months after the shooting happened. My grandma, who was also an alcoholic, did not follow Christianity to my knowledge whatsoever, bought me and my brother Bibles that Christmas, like literally the Christmas before she passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, my brother used his to smoke weed with because it had nice paper apparently, good for making blunts.
Yeah.
And I threw mine in the garage. I was like, why would I read some stupid book? I don't read it in general,
Yeah.
And so I threw mine. I found it and I said, God, if you're really real, and this is a book that you for some reason want me to read, because I didn't know, she didn't tell me Jesus died for my sins. She didn't tell me Jesus was God. She didn't tell me anything about Jesus. I had no ideology of Jesus at this point. Like, yeah, obviously we're in America. I've heard some sort of tellings of Jesus, but I'd still never heard the gospel in my life yet. So I opened the book, the Bible, to Isaiah 43, and in it says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I've called you by your name. You are mine. When you walk through the waters of the rivers, they will not drown you. When you walk through the fires, they will not scorch you, for the Lord your God is with you." And in that moment, the Lord brought me back to a few crucial moments in my life. One was the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I saw myself in the locker room, and I saw my friend Caleb Kelmer. It's nuts because he knows Jesus now, and he's encouraged me so much because so many people in my hometown don't know Jesus, and
Mhm.
he's actually a huge reason I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
I met him in 5th grade, and he just like, I don't know why he cared about me so much, but he did, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like the popular kid at school,
Wow.
and I was nice to people, but I was still this troublesome kid.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, he always invited me. Like, I remember so specifically the first time he invited me to his birthday. It was like the first birthday party I'd ever been invited to.
Wow.
And I would remember like going there so nervous because it was like all his friends from like the wealthier school in town and all these things. And I show up in like my basketball shorts down to here because that's what I
Mhm.
used to wear. And they had holes, and I had the same slides that I wore for 3 years, and my socks had holes in them. And he
Mhm.
just brought me in and like, just shout out Caleb. That's just a random thing. I didn't share that last time, but
Praise
like,
God for
yeah,
Caleb.
yeah, he's nuts. And now he knows Jesus. But why I share that is because he was in the locker room with me, and I was just sitting there weeping, and he was just holding me. And I saw on the left side of me this glowing figure holding me from that side.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw this moment where I was beating this cut up,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw the same glowing figure protecting him. And then I saw moments where I was getting beaten by my father,
Wow.
and I saw this glowing figure protecting me. And just in me, I knew that it was God and that he was real, but I still didn't know he was Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So in the next month, I decided that if you wanted me to read this book, then I'll read it.
Mm-hmm.
So I read it in a month. I was extremely confused. It made no sense. If you've read the Bible even a page, you're probably confused, you know?
And you read the entire thing in a month.
Yeah, from Genesis to Revelation, you know, and most people, they like to start in John or anywhere in the Gospels and then go through the New Testament and then get to the Old. Well, I didn't do that because it's a book, you know. You open to page 1,
Yep.
you know, and you just start reading. And I did that. I was mad confused, and I was like, all right, maybe I'm tripping. Maybe this is the wrong book because I still hadn't been to church. I didn't know that church was part of it.
Yeah.
I had a few friends in my hometown that were Christian that would invite me, but like, I don't know. I didn't, because of my foreknowledge of Christianity being real, like quote unquote the white man's religion.
Mhm.
I didn't really vibe with churches at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't ready for it. And I actually, how I found my first church was I was still struggling with suicidal ideation.
Mhm.
This was actually, I can't remember if it was a week after I got saved or maybe a month and a week, but I think it was after I read the Bible the first time. But I was like, it was after I read the Bible the first time. I was like, God, I'm mad confused. You told me to read this book through that random lady I'll probably never see again. It's
Yeah.
like, you have to show me that this is real. That's kind of the story of my life with Jesus. Is I go through these things and then I'm like, God, you have to show me.
Mm.
And I think that's something that I find so beautiful is I get to a point where I'm so vulnerable that I say, I physically can't do it.
Mhm.
And if you don't do it, then I will literally die.
Wow.
And so I give him the opportunity to actually wrap me in his love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what is different about Jesus is he actually will wrap you in his love. No other God will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Allah won't do that.
Mm.
Allah does not care about your well-being whatsoever.
Yeah.
He actually despises you. Like
Yeah.
there's 100 beautiful names for Allah, and one of them literally is the destroyer.
Wow.
Which
What kind of God is a destroyer? Like,
yeah, which is Satan. He
yeah.
came to kill, steal, and destroy.
Which is what, like, that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like
isn't
the
that nuts?
correlation between Allah and Satan.
Yeah.
Just like actually blew my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
Like right here, right now.
Yeah. They also don't
Wow.
want to talk about how they had 12 different Qurans that all contradicted themselves, and then Muhammad was like, well, we kind of got his side, so we're finna pick this one and then just burn the rest. They don't want to talk about that, but then they say that the Bible is corrupt when we have manuscripts from 76 AD. Like, give me a break, bro. Even if I wasn't a Christian, I could not deny that the Bible was real comparative to the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even with the Book of Mormon, like I pray that the Mormons will come to know Jesus. That's a burning in my heart. That's why I feel like I'm so called to America. Is because Mormonism is a disease that's been literally being spread in America, and it's really scary because it's works-based salvation, and their book has been changed too many times in the last 200 years. It's really scary. Like they literally, this is crazy. They don't want to talk about this. Their book literally used to say that if you had dark skin, you were cursed and that you weren't going to heaven. If you were black, you weren't going to heaven. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
But they don't teach that.
I didn't know that about the Mormon church. Of
It's
like
crazy.
that's in their book.
Yeah.
Of if you had dark skin, you don't go to heaven.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. There's a lot of things that I could talk for 2 hours about the Mormon faith. They would not like that because I'd expose everything. Maybe I'll do that sometime, but
You should. I would watch that.
yeah, it's pretty wild. And this is the problem with Mormonism is, and I'll get back on track after this because it'll
you're
tie
good.
in. But the problem with it is they teach a personal encounter ideology, so they don't have any logic. And how humanity works philosophically, this is what philosophy has come to, is we are we're logical beings, we're reasonable, and we're experimental. And so those are kind of how our brains work, that's how our memory works, is those three together. And so with it, if you fixate on one or the other, which both do in different ways, Mormonism in personable or encounter, and then Islam in reasoning, but it's a false reasoning that is only based on what they desire, which is still personal, then you don't actually find truth. You find whatever you want. And why I share that is because with my story with Kylie and finding Jesus, the Lord showed me through many different facets how his love was the only way. And so why I share that is because then after I got saved, a month, I read the Bible in a month and a week, I'm like, God, if you don't show up tonight, I'm going to commit suicide. I can't do this anymore.
Wow.
Like, I believe you're real, but it doesn't make sense that you're real, and my life seems to suck even more because I lost all my friends. I was at home alone every single day before school started and whatnot. And I didn't watch YouTube at all at that time. This is before like For You pages were a thing, all that. I go to YouTube. The very first video I see is this video called Jesus Loving Barabbas by a man named Judah Smith. If you've never seen that video, it will change your life. It's about 8 minutes long. And for a year, literally, it was so cool. I started going to his church in Seattle. He actually had a church in Seattle, and then he had a church here, and now his church is mainly here. But so he was on my roommate's podcast, and I got to tell him like my story of how that changed my life. And for like a year, when I first started preaching, all I preached was Jesus loving Barabbas. Like that was my message. I just ran with it. And I think it's so funny when like people get critical about people using other people's messages, because if you think it was Judah Smith's message, then you haven't read the Bible, because that's the message of the Bible. That's the message of Barabbas in the Bible. He just worded it beautifully. You know what I mean? And so it's just funny when people are like, why are you taking quotes from other people? I'm like, well, they're not their quotes. Like, nothing is new under the sun. If you think you made something, you're prideful and you need to repent. That's just point blank period. You've never created anything because God already created it all.
Yeah.
And so why I share that is because then after I finally started going to church, I read the Book of Mormon and the Quran, and I saw the corruptions, and that's why I brought them up and I went on those tangents. Is because I looked into these things. I looked into Hinduism. I took a class on Hinduism, on yoga, and a few other religions in college. And I kept seeing all of these little holes, these little black holes in their ideologies that just sucked everything dry.
Yeah.
But then I saw Jesus, and I saw how it got to the marrow of the bone, and I couldn't deny it. Every single time I picked up the Bible, I was like, I may be confused, but maybe confusion isn't a bad thing, because it shows that there's more knowledge in this thing than I could ever have. And it's changed me. I'm not different because I did therapy. I'm not different because I started taking medication. I'm not different because I did anything different. there was a veil over my eyes, a veil of hate that made me want to fight people, that made me want to steal. And now for some reason, all I want to do is hug homeless people. For some reason, all I want to do is pray for people. For some reason, all I want to do is love people and see people the way that Jesus sees them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want to do. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And no other God could do that because no other God teaches that.
Yeah. Is that the most common thing that you found throughout all the other
Yeah.
religions? Is that no other God is love?
Yeah, no other God is love, and logically, no other God makes sense because of the wage dilemma. That if eternity is real,
Mhm.
if eternity is not real, then that proposition's a lot harder to make. But if we can stand on the ideology of eternity being real, then because nearly every other religion teaches a works-based salvation in some sort of format,
Mhm.
even Hinduism.
Yeah.
It's about enlightenment to bring inner peace, but to bring inner peace, you have to work towards that.
Mhm.
And so there's all of these things that feasibly can't work without an eternal God eternally giving you that peace.
Mm.
Like there is an enlightenment that happens, but it's only by the Spirit of God.
It's owned by the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
And so I could talk about every other religion and debunk them fairly easily, to be honest. And
Mhm.
this isn't me saying that I understand the complexities of the Bible, but it's to say that for some reason this book is different and I can't explain why.
Mhm.
It's
How do
just
you find
different.
comfort in the why? Of like having the question still.
I think it's foolish of us I think it's very arrogant for man to think that they know anything.
Mm.
We've only discovered 4% of the ocean. And the ocean is 2/3 of our world.
Yeah.
We've discovered 0.0000001% of space,
Mm-hmm.
and we think we know anything, bro. Like we know nothing. Even
with AI.
Dude,
like
it's-
I think about that.
we know nothing, and we act like we know everything.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, that's why pride is the substance of every sin. Is because we think we know. That's why they took the bite of the knowledge of good and evil. That's what the fruit was. Is because they now thought they knew.
Mm-hmm.
Every arrogant philosopher that I've read about thinks they know more than they actually know.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, they're wise. Like I love reading a lot of their writings because they see life in a different perspective that has shaped how culture is today.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's a mere fraction. It's a dimmed mirror compared to what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I find comfort, is realizing that I know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest philosophers to ever live are the ones that can admit that they know nothing.
Mm.
Because they're more hungry for everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're more hungry on the why.
Yeah.
We were taught as kids to stop asking why.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like
yeah, that's like an inherent thing. Like
Yeah.
when you're like your parents are like, "Are we there yet?" Or "Why are we doing this?" Your parents are like, "Shut up."
Yeah, literally. And it's because we've been taught pride to think that we know things,
Mm-hmm.
whereas we were meant to be as kids to ask why.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stop asking why, when we think that we're better than another, when we think that we know more,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm gonna be as humble as I possibly can when I say this. I've read this 12 times now,
Mhm.
the Bible, in
Yeah.
6 years. I still know nothing.
Yeah.
I want to read it at least 100 times, at least.
Mm-hmm.
The early church, to become a pastor, it's crazy. This isn't a thing in America or anywhere in the world. To become a pastor, you had to know the Gospels word for word to become a pastor. That was the first criteria
Wow.
to become a pastor in the first century church.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the biggest reasons why we have the Bible as it is today, is because they knew the Bible so well.
Mm.
And bro, like I can quote a few scriptures. I can sound knowledgeable,
I feel that.
you know, but like I know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read it 12 times.
Yeah.
And so I say that to give comfort to the person who's like, I don't know anything, or I'm confused on the Bible, because that's the point, is that without God, we will not understand it, because this book is a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It is the mysteries of God. That's how Paul puts it in Corinthians, in Colossians,
Mm-hmm.
in Ephesians. He calls it the mystery of God.
Yeah.
And if it's a mystery, we have to solve it. We have to find it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to find a mystery, like think of Scooby-Doo. How the heck did they find anything? They had to ask where things were.
Yeah.
They had to ask people questions. If they
Yeah.
just sat there, they were just sitting in a room looking at the ambient Jesus behind us,
Yeah.
you know, just sitting here chilling, they would have never found out anything. But since they asked questions, they found the answers.
Yeah.
And so with us, we get to partner with God and ask him questions and find the answers.
Which I think is a really beautiful way of putting it, because I've been thinking a lot about how like creation testifies.
Yeah.
And like, oh, the creative minds that, like, I was telling you this, I literally was on the plane, I look out the window, and I
Yeah.
usually get a lot of plane anxiety, and I just felt so much peace. I was like, wow, God like created all of that. And I'm looking at buildings, like concrete buildings. I'm leaving Chicago, I'm looking at concrete buildings, but I'm like, he created these brilliant minds
Yeah.
and the architects to do that. And I'm like, they had to ask X, Y, and Z of, you know, in your classes and how to learn. And then I think about, what was I gonna? I don't know. To the point is, there is so much that we don't know.
Yeah.
And like genuinely, that's something where I feel like I'm someone who probably doesn't. I like very much so. I grew up in a Christmas and Easter family,
Yeah.
so I was just like, sure, like I believe in this. And then I was like, as I, this is hilarious. And as I like continued to go down the rabbit hole of like the goodness of Christ and learn more about him, like all I want to know is more about him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And there is so many good whys. And I literally,
Hey.
I literally was
Moses.
talking to my friends the other day, because like, we go to the same church back at home. And I was like, yeah, like Hannibal, our pastor, was giving a sermon. He was saying like, he was super passionate about this. And he was saying, if you don't ask why, he's like, I think you have the wrong idea of who God is. And that was like kind of convicting of like, because I literally was just talking to my friend about like, honestly, like I have such like a faith where I'm like, yeah, God, like you did that. Like can be like, give reverence and be like, I'm so grateful for this. Like you did this and I believe and I know that you're real and I don't need to see anything type of thing.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it is good to think about it
Yeah.
and be like, there's so much mystery that can come from reading the Bible 100 times. And the 101th time, you're still going to learn something.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, I'm reading it through right now and seeing God's, like what stuck with me to even be on like the call to like even be in LA right now. And with like the whole podcast is like, I was reading Exodus 4 where like Moses is like, Lord, I'm not eloquent enough to go do this, to go do what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And the Lord's like, did I not give man mouth to speak?
Wow.
And I'm just like, yeah, like the Lord will give you the wisdom and all you have to do is ask. And it's like seeing God's character
Yeah.
in the Old Testament like that. I was like, there was like a veil over my eyes to God's character in the Old Testament, because there are people, which I don't agree with this, that say the Old Testament is like not needed, where I'm like, the Old Testament is very much so needed. I had an experience back at church, back at home, where there was a pastor that didn't think the credibility of the Old Testament. And I was like,
Yeah, he probably doesn't know Hebrew.
Exactly. What's the first line in Genesis? What's
Yeah.
the Hebrew?
Yeah, the first word in Genesis, it's Bereshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to quote it exactly because
Quote it.
last time I quoted it a little differently.
Mhm.
I don't want to paraphrase this because it's so rich.
Okay.
So Bereshit, it means in beginning. It's the very first word in the Hebrew Bible. The very first word in our Bible. This is what it says. This is what Jews. This is in the Torah. What Jews believe. All right.
Mhm.
Are you ready for this, Moses? The Son of God is destroyed willingly on the cross. So how Hebrew works. I'm not a scholar yet.
Mhm.
Hopefully one day that'd be mega lit. But I so desire, one of my greatest goals in life is to be fluent in Hebrew, Greek,
Mhm.
and Aramaic, so I could just see things in the Bible that I don't see quite
Mhm.
yet.
You need to take a class at like an online class.
I
at
know, I've
Wheaton,
thought about it. Yeah,
because they teach Hebrew
at Wheaton.
at Wheaton. Mhm.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Shout
so.
out
Right?
Wheaton.
Do they, Mia? Yeah. There's a
Dang.
lot of So
Maybe I'll look into that.
look into it.
My friend bought me a Bible that has the Greek or the Hebrew next to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's upstairs.
Wow.
But so how Hebrew works is each letter of the Hebrew alphabet has a symbol or a
Mhm.
picture, and then that symbol or picture has a meaning. And so
Mhm.
the symbols mean that the Son of Man will be willingly destroyed on the cross, which is crazy because
That's what the Jews believe. Like
that's
what
the very first thing that Jews read is that Jesus will die for them.
which is insane.
Yeah, and
Because
then,
I saw a clip of, is it Ben Shapiro? Is he Jewish?
Yeah.
Of him just being
Moses.
he was on the Joe Rogan podcast,
Oh,
I
really?
think. I don't know if you saw this clip. And like I don't I think I was either telling you or maybe I was telling someone else of like I'm not on social media like that much.
Yeah.
And he was like saying like, we don't believe Jesus is a prophet. We don't believe Jesus. We believe he was someone that was trying to overthrow the Roman government. He was saying something like really radical.
Believe in the divinity of Christ. I
Right.
think that there you can make an argument that the Gospels, which were written,
He was just a prophet, and right?
No. We don't even believe he was a prophet.
What do you think he was? What do you guys think?
I mean, what do I think he was historically? I think he was a Jew who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed for his trouble, just like a lot of other Jews at that time who were crucified for trying to lead revolts against the Roman and got killed for their trouble.
So he became legend in story, and it became a bigger and bigger deal as time went on.
Yeah, he had a group of followers, and then that gradually grew, and then
Do you think he was resurrected?
No, that's not a Jewish belief.
Okay, I just want to check.
Yeah, no, we're not into
You're not
we're not
into
into miracle
zombies?
stories. No, that's
No?
not, no.
You don't have any miracles?
No,
in here?
not by Jesus. Right?
No?
Yeah.
And I was like, the fact of the matter is like, if that's the first line of the Bible, like that's the first line of your Torah. Like
Yeah.
that's what you are reading and saying that
Yeah.
you believe in. And then
It's pretty wild.
that's nuts. Like that
Yeah.
blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh. That's like, and like you were saying, you could sit here and like denounce all the other religions and argue about it, which I personally, like, I think that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But I genuinely, like, even after like having all these conversations where it's like the Lord continually, like the mystery of the Lord is revealed not only through people, but
Yeah.
also through his word. And it just is crazy how it just all comes together.
It's pretty
honestly.
wild. I mean, even there's so many things. I'm trying to find it. I don't know if I will. 'Cause I've written so much since then, but
You're so good.
I have a note where it's called Jesus in the Bible, and it's just
You're good.
all of these places in the Bible and how it relates to Jesus. And I can't find it right now, but
That's okay.
even Passover, they practice Passover every year, because of it happening. It was a historical event. And then Jesus comes as the Passover lamb. Like there's so many intricate details, even like my pastor talked about this. Was yesterday Sunday?
Yeah.
Sunday, yeah, yesterday. He was talking about like the frankincense and myrrh and gold, how each of those had different things. I'm gonna find that because that's actually really beautiful to share
Okay.
for this moment. But it just blows my mind because there's so many things that are so symbolic,
Totally.
and the Jews don't believe in them. I'm like, how, bro?
No, it is. And is it Rahab and Jacob? Or no, sorry, not Jacob. And Joshua, who hangs the scarlet like
Yeah.
in her window when
Yeah.
they're taking over Canaan, and it's like Christ's blood,
Yeah.
like is scarlet. Like
Yeah.
that's the crimson stain, you know?
It's crazy.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gold points to, this is in Matthew 2, when the wise men do this. Gold points to his kingship. Gold is a gift for a king. Frankincense points to his deity. Frankincense was burned in the temple as an offering to God. Myrrh points to his sacrifice. Myrrh was used for burial. For burial. And it declares this child was born to die, to suffer, to save, and redeem through his sacrificial death.
Wow.
And it's just, it's pretty wild how people, I think it's so humorous when people are like, well, Jesus never said that he was God. Well, one, he does numerous times in John, but if we're, a lot of atheists will try to take out John because it was written in, I think, 180 or something, which, I mean, it makes sense because John lived longer than everyone else. But if we take out John, every other book, or Matthew, Mark, and Luke, where was I going? Oh, me as an author, I am not just going to tell you the point of my book.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Legit. Like, I have never read a book where the author starts his book and says, hey, by the way, this is what I'm writing about. Like, no, the point of a book is for the journey of it, for you to seek and you will find.
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny because so many atheists are like, well, he doesn't claim to be God. And I'm like, bro, have you ever read a book that does that? Like, I think about this so... I did this purposely in my first book. It's called The Modern Day Screwtape Letters. It's based off of a C.S. Lewis book that's called Screwtape Letters.
Yeah.
The consensus of it is two demons are talking about how to torment this guy. And I love C.S. Lewis's writings. I'm a very big C.S. Lewis stan. But something that I personally think that he did wrong in the first book, or in his book, is he gave the demons too much power. He made them seem like these extensive macho men. And so something I did in my book that I've gotten extreme backlash for, that people don't understand because I didn't explain it on purpose because I wanted to show how stupid people think. I purposely made the demons use the same words multiple times. So like I used the word excruciating like 8 times or something. And I've gotten probably like 50 DMs alone, but then like comments on Goodreads and whatever else, like this guy's illiterate, like he sucks at writing, don't ever read his books. And I'm like, if only you asked questions instead of just assuming things, you would see there's deeper meaning in everything. Like there's going to be something in a book that I'm going to write in a few years that I am never going to share on a podcast, but if the world figures it out, it will blow the world's mind. I've told a few close friends, but no one will know unless it gets put out there.
Yeah.
And it is one of the craziest ideas I've ever had.
I love it.
Like, and it's from the Lord. Like, it's something that one day I was walking and he just says, do this. I'm like, my jaw literally dropped. I was like, what the heck? How does anyone think of that? You know, and it's like, there's certain things as a writer that I do that you will not know unless you think differently than what you've been taught. And it's like, okay, then if the God of the universe partnered with man to write these, why the heck wouldn't he do the same thing? Why do we try to anticipate the Bible and make a fool out of it by saying that Jesus doesn't clearly call himself God, even though Colossians 1 calls him God, Hebrews 10 and 11 call him God. Jesus says he's God numerous times, and in John 1 says that he is the Word and the Word is with God, and people will go against that. But if you go into the Greek, it clearly means, logos means the word, which is talked about in Genesis. You know what I mean? And so even with that, then John 14, where he says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, they know that as him saying he's God. And even in John 15, where he says he's the door is the only way into the temple. To be in the temple, the only way to go into the temple is through God, through sacrifice. So there's so many ways that he says he's God, but because we think in our little American ideology, like if we were in that time, this is why the Pharisees hated him, is because he wasn't just saying that he was the Messiah that they thought he was, but he was saying he was a greater Messiah, which is God, God incarnate. And that frustrates people who are prideful. So they killed him.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That is, I've never heard like an interpretation like that. I think it's so insightful to think like, I also like realized in college, I was like, holy cow, pride is like the root of all sin. Like, even like my own, I was like, oh my gosh, like when they say like, oh, swallow your pride, like, no, literally we all need to do it every single day. Because like when you're reading a book, the author is going to tell you on the first page, or the author isn't always going to tell you, right? At the end of the book, or like even at the end of a movie, sometimes they don't tell you like what's going to happen, which I think is a really interesting way to view it. Some people too, I think that I've had this like realization that some people have so much pride that they can't imagine putting something above themselves.
100%.
And that's why they don't want to follow. It's not because they don't want to believe or like they don't think it, like Jesus is real. It's because they don't want to have something that is above themselves.
Well, and they have to die to themselves. I was talking with a friend earlier this week about how to truly encourage someone. And, you know, in the Christianity that we have today, it's like if someone comes to you with sin, we're like, oh, it's okay. Like, you'll get through this. That's not how Paul talks to people who are in sin. He's like, hey, bro, why are you doing this? Like, you are living a life of death. Do you realize that you are literally living in death, which is of the heart of the hardened heart rather than the heart of flesh that you have been given? He's like, snap out of it, bro. Like, wake up. Like, in Incredibles, like, pull yourself together, man. Like, that's how we should be talking to each other. It's like we should be encouraging each other with the word of God, and with that, calling each other higher in the sense of, this is why I believe sin is so okay in church today, and why so many people are okay with certain things is because they're not being called to a high standard of actually the gospel. Because when I got saved, I didn't keep stealing, I didn't keep fighting. Things changed in my heart. And obviously there are things that I'm still working through, but I have brothers that call me out and call me higher, and they know the things I struggle with. I have a good group of guys that knows, okay, Tanner struggles this, and this. Let's check in on him on these things. And I just think it's very interesting how we've been okay with sin when sin is the thing that put him to death. Romans 8.
Yeah.
Like the wages of sin is death. And the death that is Jesus' death.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have diluted death. And this is something I've been praying about in my own heart because I've had so many people die in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had people die in front of me and I didn't shed a tear.
Mm-hmm.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
That's really worrisome.
Mm-hmm.
And the last few months I've been like, Lord, search my heart. Why? Show me the weight of death. And there's a movie that changed my life a few years ago, and I've been thinking about rewatching it, but it's The Passion of the Christ.
I have a friend that told me to watch that. It's in Aramaic. Wait, what? It's in a different language, right?
No,
No.
it's in English.
It is in English?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I gotta watch that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very gory, so I'm
Mhm.
just letting you know that now.
Okay.
But it will change your life because it depicts Jesus' death in a way that you would have never seen prior.
Mhm.
Because it shows him getting beaten.
It's so gruesome. I
Yeah.
had a friend telling me about it, and like, oh,
I
like
remember-
my stomach
yeah.
curdled.
Yeah.
I was like, and the fact that like my stomach curdles at that, like how sick is that?
Yeah.
Like if my stomach is curdling, can you imagine what he went through?
Yeah.
How heartbreaking that is. And like they just watched it and they did it.
Yeah. It's actually wild. One of the clips, the actor actually got whipped, like on accident.
Wow.
And so one of his screams was real.
That's insane.
And even with it, it's crazy. There's a few other things. While he was on the cross,
Mhm.
like in the scenes, he got electrocuted twice, like struck by lightning twice, or it might have been 3 times. And he lived.
He lived, yeah.
I don't know this last one. I can't remember if this was true, but
Uh-huh.
there was there was something that I feel like I read where he wasn't a Christian prior, but got saved through it.
Wow. That's awesome.
And yeah, it just depicts the weight of sin so well because it shows when
Mhm.
we sin, this is what we did.
Wow.
Like we were the Jews pointing at him.
And like laughing or
Yeah.
the drunkards that were like on his way to the cross. And
Yeah.
We were them. Like we were the drunkards. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
which is just awful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Like genuinely thank you for sharing your testimony and like diving into like the hard topics of like
Yeah.
even talking about other religions because we didn't really talk that much about it last time.
No.
And I think that sometimes we want to people please so much in today's culture, in today's world. So yeah, thank you for that.
Of course.
I want to put you in the hot seat. Are all the cameras still rolling? Moses, if you have advice for the... No, I'm just kidding. All right, Tanner, if you could sit with Jesus for 15 minutes, what would you ask him? Or what would you talk about? I'm stumping you.
I know. I feel like I would just ask him to tell me more of the mysteries of God.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I would love to hear him teach the parables.
That'd be a sick.
Yeah.
15 minutes of Jesus.
Yeah. I don't know.
I love that answer.
There's
No, there's probably so much
Yeah,
that's
I
like
said-
going through your head right now.
I said a lot different last time, but I feel like I thought more about it after.
Mhm.
And I just something that has captivated me about the Bible is the mysteries of God
Mhm.
and how Paul talks about it.
Mhm.
And there's just so much that we don't know.
Mhm.
I would also ask him some questions about just science-based questions that I've had.
Yeah.
Why certain things are the way they are, why he decided to make mathematics so embedded in the universe.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if you've heard about the Fibonacci sequence, but
Mm-mm.
it's kind of hard to describe unless I had a whiteboard here. But
It's okay.
basically, everything flows from this number system that's a spiral.
Wow.
And it shows what's so cool about it is something that God taught Israel is to think circularly.
Mhm.
And in America, we're taught to think linearly, which means we go forward.
Mhm.
It's always on to the next thing. Okay, I accomplished this, so let's do this. Whereas Israel, and this is what I loved about growing up on the tribe as well, is it's something that we were taught is to remember where you're from, remember your roots, remember like Israel would set up these pillars of remembrance of things that happened.
Mhm.
It's why we have so much history today of things that happened is because there were literal pillars that were set up and established. And so I believe the Lord is so intricate that he made the Fibonacci sequence and all of these things, circular reasoning to show us that everything points back to him.
Wow.
That there has to be one absolute truth,
Mm-hmm.
which is Jesus.
I like that.
So I'd ask him about
Amen.
that because I don't understand it fully, but it's just fascinating to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you had advice for the younger generation, what would you tell them?
I would say fall in love with the word and fall in love with prayer. We've been taught prayer awfully, and prayer will change your life.
Mm.
Prayer will change your life. It'll change how you think. It'll change how you act. It'll change how you walk. Something that I've been doing the last year that I've embedded into me with that is the first hour of my day, I'll just stretch and I'll thank God. Like I won't even pick up my Bible yet. I'll just stretch and thank God. And why I do that is because we have so many distractions in our life. There's something I write about in the first book, the Modern Day Screwtape Letters, is the demons talk about these dimmed lights or these lights of deceit. And there's so many lights that are flashy. Like Las Vegas is a very flashy city. What captivates people is the lights, and then what keeps them is the sin.
Wow.
And I think that deceit brings you to sin. And so when you are willing to humble yourself to get on your knees and pray the word over yourself, look in the mirror and pray scripture over yourself and speak identity in yourself, you will change. And I think why a lot of people are stuck in anxiety in our generation, stuck in sin, whatever it is because they're not praying the word over themselves. They're not washing themselves in the word. And as a man, how can I Ephesians 5, how can I wash my wife one day in the word if I'm not even washing myself in the word? That doesn't make sense. And so to encourage the younger generation, even people our age, just fall in love with the word, even if you don't understand it, and fall in love with being loved. Let Jesus take you on dates. Let him do the craziest things, because he will. Like I have a lot of really insane stories, and I call them either dates with Jesus, or I say that my father's taking me out to get ice cream.
I love that.
Because as a kid, all I wanted was my dad to say he was proud of me and take me out for ice cream. And he'll do crazy things when you just sit with him and let him love you.
Yeah. Something that I found I take so much hope into it, because I think there's obviously a lot of people, and I think that it is very clear that there's a lot of like absent fathers in like just in modern society. And I am the Lord has put me in such awe of him, of being like that is what a father is. Like he is what a father is and what a father should be. And like if you don't feel loved by your father, and if you've never heard that, like he's proud of you. I was reading in Luke last night where Jesus is, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget now. It says that like Jesus marveled at the man, and I think it's what, Luke 7. You know, when he marveled at the man his friends came. I literally am so bad at quoting scripture right now. Sorry, I'm tired. His friends came to like heal the servant. Oh my gosh. So the servant's like friends came because he was sick. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about now?
I don't know what chapter it's in, but
I think it's Luke 7, where the servant's friends come and are like, he's a good servant. Lord, like heal him. He's like sick. And it's because of their faith. And Jesus marveled at him. And that just like made me think of how like we do have a father who is proud of us and is so forgiving and loves us so much.
Yeah. Wow.
Which I take so much hope in that. Like literally last night. So it's
he
crazy.
desires to love us. Even why am I blanking on the name now too?
I'm right there with you. We're like, it's 10 o'clock. It's
the parable of
the prodigal son.
Yeah, the prodigal son.
There we go.
The father's only desire was to love him, to shower him in love.
Yeah.
And you don't get clean before taking a shower. You take a shower to be clean.
Yeah.
And so to be clean, you need to be showered in his love. And that's what he wants to do. He doesn't look at you for shame for selling all of your stuff or using all your stuff. He desires to love you through all things. Micah 7 is one of my favorite verses because I can just imagine it so well. I grew up just skipping rocks at where I'm from, I live in a bay, and then I also live by these really beautiful rivers, and I would just skip rocks for legit 6 hours. And in that verse, it says that God will cast our sins in the sea of forgetfulness. And I just imagine myself skipping rocks, and I'll never see that rock again.
Wow.
And that's what he does. And when we remember that, then our hearts are sobered to the truth that we are forgiven, that we are healed. And just speaking that identity, this is actually a really good chapter to speak identity over yourself. If you're like, okay, Tanner, I understand like speaking the word, read Ephesians 1 over yourself. There are, I think, 12 different spiritual blessings that it talks about. And read that over yourself every single morning in the mirror, looking at yourself, because most people can't look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because they know themselves and they know what they're hiding.
Yeah. Wow. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
I'm also someone that doesn't, I don't do that very often,
Yeah.
honestly, which is good. All right. Can I pray us and close?
Yeah.
Well, oh my gosh. Can I pray for your mom, Cordell? Is that his
Yeah.
name? And then how else can I be praying for you?
Just putting out a lot of things next year. Yeah, I'm really excited for a lot.
Yeah.
And I just want people to encounter Jesus. I want people to be free. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Just pray that people get free from these things.
All right. Dear Jesus, I just thank you for this time that Tanner and I gotten to spend together, Lord. I just give all gratitude to you for making this happen all over again. I just lift Tanner up to you, and I lift his family up to you, lift his mom and his friend Cordell up to you, Lord. I just pray that you show yourself to them and let them experience you fully. I just pray with all these things that Tanner's putting out, Lord, I just pray that you use them for your glory and to help him continue to be a disciple for you, Lord. And help us continue to just strive to fully commit ourselves to the Great Commission, Lord. We thank you for sending Jesus to die such a gruesome and painful death on the cross, Lord. I thank you for that being the reason for the season this year. And I just thank you for Tanner and him opening his home up to us and this time that we've gotten to spend together. It's in your name I pray. Amen.
No.